Revealed. Millionaire's fiancé exposed in heartwarming moment that transformed a Maid's life forever. In a cozy suburban neighborhood in Indiana, where the scent of fresh-cut grass mingles with the laughter of children, Emily tightened her apron. The sun peeked through the leaves, promising another day in the grand mansion of Robert, the local millionaire. As she stepped into the house, a stark contrast met her. Polished marble floors and golden trinkets, fit for a fairy tale, while she lived a few streets down, sandwiched between bills and her mother's illness. But today felt different. As she dusted the ornate shelves filled with trophies and framed memories, she overheard Robert speaking animatedly on the phone. "I'm ready to propose. I want it to be perfect for Charlotte." Her heart twisted. Love like that felt light years away from her reality. Chills ran down her spine, igniting a yearning for something beautiful for her mother, something simple yet profound, just like the love she could feel within. In a moment of boldness, she approached Robert. "Maybe I can help?" she suggested, surprising herself. "I know a thing or two about romance in the everyday kind of way." His laughter filled the room, bringing warmth to her core. What began as her small contribution soon blossomed into late-night brainstorming sessions filled with ideas that sparked joy, a love note hidden in a book, flowers picked fresh from a garden. Their friendship, built on shared creativity, became a refuge from their vastly different worlds. But like clouds rolling in on a sunny day, Charlotte, Robert's fiancée, sensed their growing bond. Her sharp gaze found Emily one afternoon, the intensity of her jealousy palpable. "What can someone like you offer him?" she sneered, and the words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Emily's breath hitched, a tightening in her chest echoing each whispered jab about class disparity. The innocent joy they shared began to feel like a battlefield, where Emily wrestled with her worth against Charlotte's polished confidence. In the midst of rising tensions, nature shook the foundation of their community. A tornado ripped through the neighborhood, leaving chaos in its wake. Emily sprang into action, rallying neighbors to organize a local shelter. Merging her kindness with genuine leadership, she embodied the very essence of community spirit, resilient and hopeful among the wreckage. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the storm subsided and along with it, the barriers between them, Emily's heart swelled with pride, but unease flickered. People began to recognize her, not just as the maid, but as someone who cared deeply. Among the smiles and gratitude, could she finally find her place? Standing at that crossroads, Emily felt changed. Would Robert and Charlotte see beyond their privilege and allow her to share in the respect earned through courage and resilience? The echoes of their laughter and the weighty silence of judgment left her asking, would love flourish despite the fractures? Or would their paths diverge forever in this intricate dance of life? After the storm, the cleanup began. Neighbors emerged from their homes, some with cracked windows, others with roofs missing shingles. But the spirit was unbroken. Emily stepped outside, her heart still racing from the adrenaline of the past days. She scanned the street, witnessing a collective effort unfolding. It felt surreal yet invigorating. She joined a group of women sifting through debris, memories of the past intertwining with the muck they cleared away. Laughter broke out over stories shared, lifting everyone's spirits. "Remember the summer block party?" a woman exclaimed, pulling a colorful poster from the rubble. As they mixed laughter with labor, Emily realized that she wasn't just mending a community. She was rebuilding connections. Later that week, Robert invited her to a dinner meeting. Tension filled the air as she walked into the room where he sat across a large table, looking more serious than usual. As Robert spoke about rebuilding efforts, Emily could sense an unspoken weight in his eyes. "I wanted to thank you for everything you've done, Emily. You've inspired me," he said, and his voice softened. Emily felt her cheeks flush at his words. I just did what needed to be done, she replied, trying to belittle her efforts. But Robert insisted. No, it was more than that. You took charge and showed heart. It made me realize I've been overlooking what truly matters. His gaze pierced through her defenses. But then, the door swung open with a crash. Charlotte stepped in, her presence eclipsing the warm moment. Her smile seemed forced as she strode over. What are you two talking about? She inquired, eyeing Emily with a slight curl of her lip. Robert straightened up, visibly uncomfortable. Just discussing volunteers for the recovery. Emily has had some great ideas, he responded, a hint of defensiveness in his voice. Charlotte's eyes narrowed, her facade of cordiality faltering. Oh, how charming. I guess every little bit helps. Doesn't it? Emily felt like a weight dropped into the pit of her stomach. The tension thickened. The coming days were filled with more efforts to rebuild, but Charlotte's shadow lingered, more threat than partner. One afternoon, as Emily sorted donated items, she overheard snippets of conversation. Charlotte, standing with a group of friends, let mocking laughter spill like venom. He thinks she's somehow special. It's pathetic, she snickered. Emily's heart sank. Was her connection with Robert just a mirage? Did he even see her for who she was amidst the glitz of his world? One evening, feeling disheartened, Emily wandered outside for air. The stars twinkled like the faint hopes in her heart. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her. Turning around, she was surprised to see Robert approaching. Hey, can we talk? He asked. There was a seriousness in his tone. Emily's heart raced, uncertain. Yeah, of course, she replied, her voice trembling slightly in that quiet moment. With the shadows of doubt and uncertainty, she felt the entire weight of their worlds pressing down on her. It dawned on her that they stood on a precipice. What could he possibly say that would bridge the distance between them? As they walked to a secluded corner, Emily gathered her courage, wondering if she could finally voice the feelings bottled up inside. Could this be the moment that would change everything? Or would it just deepen the divide? Robert shifted his weight from one foot to the other, his brow furrowing more with each passing second. The air around them felt charged, electric, as if nature itself understood the seriousness of the moment. Emily drew in a breath, taking in his familiar scent, a mix of fresh laundry and something distinctly him. It was comforting, yet so fraught with tension. I was thinking about everything that happened, he began, his voice steady but soft. I didn't expect the storm to bring this community together like it has. And I didn't expect to be affected by it so profoundly myself. Emily nodded, her heart thudding in her chest. Did this connection go beyond shared labor and moments of fleeting kindness? Did he see her worth beyond the rubble they scrambled through? I kept wondering why you do what you do, he continued. You could easily step away after everything. You could walk away from this place and have a life that, let's face it, many would envy. But you choose to stay and help. I didn't have a choice, Emily replied, her words spilling out before she could catch them. I love this community. These are my neighbors, my friends. She hesitated, uncertain how to form the feelings she carried. But I didn't think anyone else noticed. He stepped closer, the moonlight painting his features in soft shadows. I see you, Emily, and I admire that. You turned chaos into something beautiful. His words imbued her with warmth, yet uncertainty still gripped her heart. I don't know if this is enough, she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. I feel so out of place with all of this. Charlotte, she makes me feel like I don't belong. Don't let her get to you. She doesn't define your worth. You do, Robert said, the intensity in his gaze holding her captive. You are the one who stepped up when it mattered. They stood there in silence, the evening air wrapping around them like a comforting shawl. Emily could feel the load in her chest begin to lift, a flicker of hope ignited within her. But what about you? Emily asked. I'm just a small-town girl. You have everything. A life that's miles away from mine. With a shake of his head, he stepped even closer, his sincerity overwhelming. Everything I have means nothing without people like you who remind me of what really matters. I know that now. A silence fell between them, heavy yet sweet. Emily's heart raced. Could he truly mean it? Did he really see her, the real her, amid the chaos? Slowly, Robert reached for her hand, hesitating just a moment, as if waiting for permission. When she didn't pull away, his fingers intertwined with hers, grounding them both. I think we can build something here, together, he said, a smile spreading across his face that lit up the darkness around them. If you're willing. Emily's breath caught in her throat. Could she take that leap? Dare to believe that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't a mirage? As she looked into his eyes, that familiar feeling of uncertainty began to mix with a thrilling sense of possibility. But just as she opened her mouth to respond, an abrupt disturbance shattered their moment. Charlotte's voice echoed from across the yard, sharp and jarring. Robert, there you are. I've been looking for you. The moment between Emily and Robert fractured, leaving her heart pounding and her spirit wavering. She pulled her hand away, uncertainty rushing in. What would Charlotte's arrival mean for them? Would she scorn this connection, or would she use it to drive a wedge even deeper? With her breath catching again, Emily glanced back at Robert. Would he defend what they had just begun to build, or would he hide from the complicating reality that was Charlotte? Everything hung in the balance as they faced the looming shadow of the past, awaiting the world to collide once more. What would Robert choose? Emily's heart raced as she watched Robert's expression shift. The warmth that had enveloped them a moment ago faded, replaced by uncertainty as he turned to face Charlotte. There she stood, a picture of confidence, her polished features illuminated by the porch light. Here I am, Robert said, his voice steady but strained. He shifted his body slightly, as if preparing to block out the world with Emily beside him. Charlotte rolled her eyes, her demeanor easily slipping into impatience. I've been looking all over for you. We've got to finalize the plans for the fundraiser. You know, the one that elevate your name and this town's standing? It's important. Emily felt the air thicken, every word Charlotte spoke biting into her like frost on skin. Fundraiser. Name. Elevate. As if everything Robert had just shared was nothing more than a fleeting moment, subsumed by the demands of a life whose definition was so far removed from her own. I know. Robert hesitated, looking back at Emily, feeling as if she were an intruder in a conversation far more important than her own. Emily took a small step back, biting her lip. This wasn't fair. She wanted to reach for him, to remind him of their connection. But Charlotte's presence loomed large, swallowing the fragile moment whole. Hi, Emily, Charlotte said coolly, her lips twisting into an insincere smile. I didn't see you there. How's our little community project coming along? The way she said little made Emily grit her teeth. It's coming along fine, Emily shot back, her voice rising slightly. We're making progress every day, and it means a lot to us. Charlotte's smile widened unnaturally, her eyes glinting. Good to hear. I suppose that means you'll have everything in tip-top shape for the gala then. Just Robert interjected, a hint of exasperation in his voice. Should we discuss this later? I was in the middle of something. Emily felt a flicker of hope. There was a part of him that still wanted to protect what they had just begun to explore together. But before she could lean into that thought, Charlotte's laughter took a sharp turn. Oh, Robert, don't be silly. You know this is critical. Her tone switched, dusty and saccharine, as she continued. Emily, love, I know you're passionate about this project, but fundraising is crucial to ensure the community's long-term success, especially with everything that's happened recently. Charlotte's words carried a weight that felt dismissive, as if she couldn't see anything beyond her own ambitions. Emily felt her heart sink, conflicting emotions swirling inside her. Of course, Emily responded, the softness creeping back into her tone. I just thought we could support each other without what? Charlotte cut in, amusement flickering in her eyes. Are you implying something here? Emily stared right back, holding her ground despite the storm brewing within her. Robert stepped between them, facing Charlotte, trying to advocate for Emily but caught in the undertow of Charlotte's insistence. I'm just saying that we can work together, he gritted out, the tension in his voice palpable. The fundraiser isn't the only way to bring value to this community. The air snapped electric again, and in that charged moment, Emily caught Robert's gaze, and for a heart-stopping instant, she saw a flicker of defiance. Then, as if all the air had been sucked from the room, Charlotte's laughter trailed off, sliding into a dangerous calm. "You're so sweet, Robert, but I'm afraid you're being naive." As the two faced off, Emily felt lost, their words echoing in her ears like the tolling of a bell she couldn't ignore. Was her place here in this tug-of-war between two worlds so vastly different? "Maybe I'm just the maid in your fairy tale, Charlotte," she whispered into the thickening silence. Robert's eyes widened as he turned to her, searching for the right words to reassure her or defend her. She didn't know. "Emily," he started, but words were stuck somewhere deep, heavy with uncharted emotions that trembled in the air. Could she really bridge the gap between their lives? Emily took a breath, looked from Robert to Charlotte, and felt a stirring deep within. Maybe standing up for what she cared about meant fighting for more than just community. Maybe it meant fighting for herself and for him. But as they stood there, trapped in a moment that felt like it could unravel at any second, another voice called from the shadows, unexpectedly altering their balance yet again. "Robert, Emily, we need you. There's been another incident at the shelter." The world jolted beneath them, the internal storm suddenly overshadowed by a greater concern. What would they face together now? The urgency in the voice brought them all back to reality with a jolt, like a gust of wind blowing through an open door. It was Jason, one of the volunteers at the shelter, his face pale and eyes wide with panic. The cozy front porch that had once been the backdrop for sweet words now felt heavy with impending chaos. Emily glanced at Robert, their moment shattered. The familiar warmth between them faded as concern washed over his features. He turned to Charlotte, who stood unimpressed, curiosity gleaming in her eyes like she might actually enjoy the spectacle. "Another incident? What happened?" Robert asked, moving closer to Jason, ready to take action. "Someone broke in," Jason said breathlessly. "It's a mess. A ton of supplies are missing, and the residents are scared. We need all hands on deck." Emily's heart sank. The shelter meant everything to her. It was a safe haven for people who had nowhere else to go. How could someone do this? Rage intertwined with worry as she clenched her fists. "We'll be there," Robert declared without hesitation. His eyes flickered back to Emily, silently asking if she was with him. She nodded, feeling a potent mix of adrenaline and fear. Charlotte, unfazed by the urgency, crossed her arms, leaning against the porch railing. "Honestly, don't you think this isn't really your problem, Robert? You have bigger fish to fry. The fundraiser is in just a few days. We can't let a minor inconvenience distract us." Emily bristled at her words. "Minor? Charlotte, these are people's lives we're talking about." Robert shot her a grateful look, but Charlotte's laughter rang out again, mocking the gravity of the situation. "Emily, bless your heart. If you want to play hero, that's your choice, but it wouldn't hurt Robert to focus on his future." "Shut up, Charlotte," Robert snapped, the tension in his voice cracked. He stepped closer to Emily, protective and resolute. "I'm not letting you dismiss this." Jason, sensing the escalating conflict, stepped in. "Let us just go. We'll figure it out when we get there." Emily felt her pulse race. As they left the porch behind, she could still feel Charlotte's eyes burning into her, a tangible weight of judgment. Had she made a mistake in standing up to Charlotte? Did she really belong in Robert's world? The drive to the shelter was filled with a heavy silence, Jason in the passenger seat and Emily in the back, both watching Robert's fingers grip the steering wheel. She could see the tension coiling in him, his jaw clenched, eyes focused. She wanted to reach out, to ease his burden, but the atmosphere felt too charged, almost electric. When they arrived, the shelter loomed ahead like a fortress under siege. The front doors were ajar, and the energy inside crackled with fear and confusion. Residents huddled together in small groups, visibly shaken. Emily jumped out, the door slamming behind her, and rushed inside. The scene before her was a disarray of overturned furniture and scattered belongings. Her heart ached. How could someone do this to those already struggling? Then she saw Mrs. Thompson, an elderly woman who lived in the shelter, her hands shaking as she clutched her handbag to her chest. "Emily, I am scared," she stammered, tears welling in her eyes. Without thinking, Emily rushed over, wrapping her arms around Mrs. Thompson. "You're safe here. We'll figure this out, I promise." Robert followed her inside, but the sight of Emily hugging Mrs. Thompson meant everything to him. In that moment, he wondered if she was more than just a community project. She was his heart. A deeper understanding dawning as he watched her comfort others, realizing how much she had transformed him too. But their moment of connection was interrupted when Charlotte burst in, demanding attention like a storm on the horizon. "What a mess. This isn't manageable without proper planning. We need a security team enough." "Charlotte," Robert's voice thundered through the chaos. He looked at Emily, her unwavering strength inspiring him. "Let us take a breath and remind ourselves why we're here." Together they faced the crowd, ready to take action, ready to bring hope where there was darkness. But as Emily met Robert's gaze, the flicker of uncertainty lingered between them. What would it take to truly unite their worlds, and could the bond they were building withstand the chaos unraveling around them? Suddenly, another voice echoed from the back room, the tone frantic and urgent. "There's someone in here." Emily's stomach dropped. What had they gotten themselves into? Emily's heart raced as the voice echoed around the room, flooding her with a mix of fear and urgency. She glanced at Robert, whose expression turned grave. "Stay close," he said sharply, motioning for Jason to follow him deeper into the shelter. Emily felt a surge of protectiveness. She couldn't let fear dictate their next move. They moved cautiously toward the back room, the darkness swallowing the hall as they switched on their phone flashlights. The atmosphere was thick with tension. Whispers echoed in fragments, bouncing off the walls as frightened residents awaited answers. Every step felt like a countdown to an impending storm. Emily's soft voice broke through the thick air, and she turned to see Mrs. Thompson watching them, her eyes wide and glistening with tears. "Promise me you'll be careful." "Always," Emily replied, squeezing the elderly woman's hand before dashing toward Robert, who stood at the entrance, muscles taut and ready for anything. Jason hesitated behind them, mirroring their doubts as they entered the back room. The flickering shadows cast by their flashlights danced on the walls. A figure huddled in the far corner, a shadow tangled in the darkness, trembling. Emily's breath hitched. "Who are you?" she called out, her tone both firm and compassionate. "Please don't hurt me," came the quivering response. The voice was young, shaky, and soaked in fear. "Hey, we're not here to hurt anyone. Just tell us what happened," Robert said, stepping closer to the figure. With each cautious step, Emily's heart raced. Closer now, she could see a young boy, no older than 12, curled up against the wall with tear-streaked cheeks and dirt-smudged clothing. A crack in the wall allowed the thin glow of the outside world to illuminate his frightened face. What are you doing here?" Jason stammered, peering over Robert's shoulder. I didn't mean to cause trouble," the boy exclaimed. "I needed food and a place to hide." His voice trembled, but indignation crept in. "They said I could stay for a little while." Emily knelt down so she was at eye level with the boy. "It's okay. What's your name?" "Alex," he whispered, eyes darting from them to the door behind him, as if expecting trouble to burst through at any moment. "Okay, Alex, can you tell us who told you to come here?" She pressed gently, looking for any clue that might explain why he was here alone. He shrugged, staring down at the floor. "Just someone outside. He said he'd help me." The tentativeness of his words struck Emily hard. The world out there could be cruel, and she wanted to wrap her arms around Alex and shield him forever. "You don't have to be scared anymore. We'll help you." That's when Robert stepped forward, his sternness softening. "We'll take care of you, I promise." Emily's heart swelled with admiration for him. She could see how deeply he felt for the vulnerable. But the flicker of light behind her seemed to darken. Charlotte's voice echoed again from the hallway. "What are we doing?" We can't just babysit a thief. The words landed like a punch. Emily spun around, heat rising in her face. Charlotte wasn't just challenging them. She was attacking their mission and purpose. As the tension escalated, Robert stepped in between, his anger flaring. He isn't a thief. He's a scared kid who needs our help. Their eyes clashed, and Emily could see the determination in his stance. Alex watched the exchange, confusion knitting his brow. Emily knelt beside him again. You are safe here, Alex. We won't let anyone hurt you. Her voice steadied him, but the underlying chaos made her question their ability to protect him. The palpable tension was like a ticking time bomb, and Emily realized just how fragile their sense of safety was. Suddenly, it hit her. If they were going to protect their community, they needed to uncover who had broken in. If they didn't stand together right now, every moment mattered, and more than supplies were at stake. As Charlotte posed more obstacles, Emily felt the gathering urgency. They needed to unite, but could they overcome the divisive force of fear and suspicion? Then came a crash from outside, followed by shouting. Someone's out there. Emily's heart sank. Was this the storm they had been waiting for? Would they stand firm together, or would the chaos swallow everything they believed in? Stay here, Robert commanded, motioning for them all to take cover. But the tension held thick in the air, like a fragile thread about to snap. What awaited them on the other side of that door? The crash from outside reverberated through the shelter, shaking Emily to her core. Her instincts kicked in, urging her to protect Alex, who was still huddled in fear against the wall. She shared a worried glance with Robert, his jaw clenched, eyes hard as steel. Robert. Jason's voice cracked with urgency as he kept glancing between the door and the quivering figure before them. What do we do? Stay down, Robert commanded again, gesturing for Jason to cover Alex. He stepped forward, ready to face whatever chaos waited on the other side of the door. Emily felt torn. She wanted to shout for Robert to come back, to stay in the safety of the cramped room. But she was just as compelled to know what was happening. The urgency pulsated in her veins, mixing with dread and a flicker of hope. It's okay, Alex, she whispered, moving back to kneel beside him again. The vulnerability in the boy's wide eyes tugged at her heart. Just hold on to me. We'll be okay. Are they coming for us? He whispered, his voice trembling. I promise, we're not going to let anyone hurt you, she replied fiercely, wrapping her arms protectively around him. She connected with that fear, and, although she was terrified herself, she focused on being Alex's shield. Moments dragged like hours as they waited. The shouting outside continued, a mix of anger and fear seeping through the walls. Then, there was a distinct sound of footsteps marching closer. Emily could almost feel her heart beating in sync with them, each thud echoing her rising anxiety. Suddenly, the door swung open and Charlotte stormed in, wild-eyed, followed closely by two other residents. They're coming. We need to barricade the door, she shouted, frantically pushing furniture aside. Wait, Robert exclaimed, his hands raised. We need to know what we're dealing with first. They're looking for someone. We can't just. Charlotte cut him off, panic fueling her every word. Someone who might be innocent, Emily shouted, standing up now, her heart racing alongside her indignation. He's just a kid. The room was filled with a heavy silence, the air thick with the weight of their choices. Eyes darted around, uncertainty painting the faces of those present. Lydia, one of the other residents, bit her lip, glancing from Emily to Robert as if searching for an answer. Let us not fight each other, Robert pleaded, his voice steady and firm. We need to unite if we're going to make it through this. A gust of wind swept through the door, and Emily felt a chill creep down her spine. She looked towards Alex, whose eyes were wide with fear, lost in the chaos around him. She felt a surge of protectiveness anew. Together, they had to stand firm, face this storm as one. Charlotte's expression softened, if only for a moment, but the tinges of fear still clouded her eyes. How can we trust him? Because right now, he needs us more than anyone. Emily shot back, surprised by the fire in her own voice. We can't let our fear dictate our choices. We need to get the truth. That's right, Robert added, drawing closer to Emily. We need to find out who's making all this noise out there. Our safety lies in the truth. But Alex's voice trembled through the thick tension. I didn't mean to cause trouble, please don't let them hurt me. Emily's heart swelled with resolve. Nobody is going to hurt you, Alex. We're going to face this together, she promised. And as she held him tighter, she knew they had to act. Look, Robert spoke up, taking charge, let us split into two groups. One stays here, protecting Alex, while the other goes to scout what's happening. But we need to move fast. Before they could process it fully, Emily heard a loud crash outside that sent jolts of adrenaline coursing through her body. A moment of silent understanding exchanged between her and Robert. This was it. Get ready, he said, preparing to lead the charge. But as Emily watched him, a nagging thought whispered to her. What if uncovering the truth meant something they weren't ready for? What if they were about to face a danger greater than they anticipated? And with that uncertainty looming over them, they steeled themselves for the unknown. Who was on the other side of that door? Would they choose to stand together, or would it bring them closer to breaking apart? The tension in the room was palpable as Emily's heart raced. She hugged Alex tighter, trying to be the calm in the storm. Robert was just a few feet away, his determination etched onto his face. She wished she could share that strength. Emily, stay here with Alex, Robert commanded, glancing at her with intensity. Jason and I will go check it out. We'll be back as soon as we can. Be careful. Emily's voice cracked as she spoke. She wanted to pull him back, to keep him safe within those four walls. But she realized that Robert's decision was not just brave, it was necessary. A faint tremor of uncertainty rippled through her as she released her grip on Alex. He looked up, eyes brimming with tears. What if they don't come back? They will, she assured him, though deep down her own fear gnawed at her. She glanced at Jason, who nodded to her, silently promising he would do everything to protect Robert. As the two of them moved towards the door, time seemed to stretch. Charlotte positioned herself near the doorframe, ready to act if needed. Emily felt the weight of their choice. Outside, the sounds of chaos grew louder, doors slamming and voices shouting blurred together into an unsettling cacophony. Remember, stay quiet, Robert said. If anything feels off, just lock the door. With that, the two of them slipped out, leaving Emily and Alex with a silence that was almost suffocating. She knelt in front of him, keeping him close, her heart beating fast. Can we close the door? Alex whispered, glancing nervously toward where Robert had exited. Yes, we can. Emily glanced at Charlotte, who moved swiftly to ensure the door was tightly closed. The din outside still echoed like a distant thunderstorm, reminding them of the peril lurking just beyond the threshold. Do you think they'll hurt us? Alex asked, his voice a mere whisper. Taking a deep breath, she brushed a lock of hair away from his forehead. No one is going to hurt us. We're here together, and we'll find a way to keep each other safe. Minutes passed like hours. Emily kept her eyes on the door, every creak and shout making her heart jump. It felt like a storm raging just outside the windows of their shelter, a cacophony of fear and uncertainty. Do you think they want you too? Alex asked, his small voice barely above a whisper. Who? Emily looked down, meeting his gaze. Why would they want me? He shrugged, his small shoulders shaking ever so slightly. You're protecting me and they're angry. What if they think you're with the bad people? Her heart twisted at the innocence in his words. No, Alex. I'm just trying to be your friend. I promise if they want anyone, they want whoever is causing this. But with each word, doubt slipped into her mind. Hadn't she noticed shadows gathering outside? Were they there because of her? The thought was a weight in her gut. Suddenly, a loud voice erupted outside, shouting a name that shot through Emily like ice. Where is he? We know he isn't here. Search every room. Her breath caught in her throat. The urgency in the voice was clear. Whoever they were getting closer. We need to hide. Alex squeaked, pressing himself against her. She felt the small body trembling beside her. Emily quickly glanced at Charlotte, who was staring wide-eyed at the door. "What do we do?" she whispered. Charlotte trembled. "If they find us, we can't let them in. We can't let them take Alex." In that moment, Emily understood the stakes. This wasn't just about facing noise or chaos. This was about protecting Alex at all costs. But would they have enough time? Could they prepare for the truth that was about to crash into their fragile safety? As the voice grew louder outside, Emily took a step closer to the door, the realization dawning on her this was the moment they had to decide who they were going to be. Would they stand and fight for what was right, or flee into the darkness of fear? And just as she felt the weight of that choice settle down around her, the door rattled violently, as if someone was trying to force their way in. Emily felt a surge of defiance rise in her. They were more than just shadows of their fears. They were a shield for Alex. But would it be enough? Little did they know, the truth knocking on their door was about to reshape everything. Emily's heart raced as she pressed her back against the door, feeling its frame shudder under the force of whatever was outside. The voice rang out again, this time more insistent, demanding, "We know you're in there. Open the door now. What do we do?" Alex whimpered, clutching her shirt tightly. She could feel his small hands trembling, and she fought against her own rising panic. "We have to find a place to hide," she said, her voice steady even as her heart pounded in her chest. "Quick! Behind the sofa." Charlotte was already moving, her wide eyes scanning the room for options. Emily took Alex's hand and pulled him toward the haphazardly placed furniture, pushing him down beneath the low arm of the couch. She crouched down beside him, trying to fold her body into his small frame, wrapping her arms around him as much as she could without making noise. The door rattled again, and her breath caught in her throat, as if the air itself was trying to escape the tension building within her. They were running out of time. "I don't want to be here," Alex whispered, voice choked with fear. She wished she could shield him from everything, the chaos, the shouting, even the reality they were facing. But there was no escaping it now. The door split open with a jarring bang, and Emily's heart sank. She didn't dare peek out. The sound of heavy boots echoed in the small room, accompanied by the sharp clatter of things being knocked over. "Check under the furniture," an authoritative voice commanded, sending a chill down Emily's spine. Sweat beaded on her forehead, and Alex shivered in her embrace. In that moment, the sanctuary they had clung to felt more like a trap. Emily could hear the searchers moving closer, voices overlapping in angry urgency, rattling her resolve. What's going to happen? Alex's voice was barely a whisper, barely even a breath. Emily pressed a finger to her lips, glancing around the room for anything useful. They needed to think quickly. Fighting was not an option. "Just stay quiet, we'll be okay. Do you promise?" "I promise," she said, though she felt no confidence behind it. Out of the corner of her eye, movement caught her attention. A shadow crossed the threshold, sweeping over the sofa, and it was impossible to hold back the tremor that quaked through her. The intruders could be right over them. The searchers began to divide up, one moving towards the furniture. Emily prayed silently, focused completely on the moment. She wanted to believe that Robert and Jason would return in time, that they would come barreling through that door and save them. But with every heartbeat, the weight of her doubt pressed heavier as the footsteps loomed closer. The voice of the searcher grew louder and more demanding. "I told you to search every corner. They can't have gone far." A glimmer of light flashed in the dim room as someone hovered too close for comfort. Emily realized with a jolt that they were directly above her hiding spot. Would they discover them? Would they tear Alex from her grasp? Just then, she heard the scraping of metal against wood, and her heart sank further. Whatever it was, they were ready to break apart the world Emily had tried to build to keep Alex safe. "Check the back, we'll divide again," the voice ordered, signaling a more intense search. Emily felt the heat of desperation radiate from her, holding Alex tighter against her. "We have to be strong," she whispered, feeling his small body tremble beneath her touch. Suddenly, a loud crash erupted from the other side of the house, and the intruders turned their attention away. Emily dared to exhale, but the rest of her body remained tense. Is this an opportunity? She wondered silently, or just a fleeting distraction. And then, as if the universe were conspiring against them, a high-pitched scream pierced the air, echoing down the hallway beyond. Emily clenched her jaw. What was happening now? She was filled with equal parts dread and determination. This was their chance. In that moment of chaos, her next move could mean the difference between safety and disaster. But where? Would that lead them? Would they step into the unknown and risk it all for freedom? The thought seized her as the pounding in her chest matched the urgency of the chaos surrounding them. In this wild game of hide-and-seek, everything hung in the balance. The chaos loomed around Emily, like a freight train barreling down the tracks, with no sign of stopping. She held Alex tightly, her heart racing faster as screams echoed in the hallways outside. Her sanctuary now felt like a fragile cage. "Stay quiet, Alex," she whispered again, feeling his small form shivering against her. She needed to think. They had to find a way out of this nightmare. As the shadow overhead loomed, she felt a surge of defiance. This was not just about protecting Alex. It was about fighting for everyone in that shelter, for their community, for hope amidst despair. Then, the crash came again, and with it, a moment of clarity washed over her. The escape was right in front of them. "When I say go, we run for the back door," she murmured, her eyes darting around the room for potential passageways. They waited, breaths held, hearts pounding in unison. The footsteps grew distant, drawn by the chaos unfolding elsewhere. "Now," she hissed, springing from behind the sofa with Alex in tow. Adrenaline shot through her body as she ran, her feet pounding against the floor, the tension snapping as they raced for the back exit. Emily reached the door, flung it open with a force that sent it barreling back against the wall. The night air hit her like a wave, electrifying her senses. The sounds of arguing and chaos faded behind them, a haunting cacophony but a reminder of how far they had come. Sprinting into the darkness, each step felt like freedom washing over her. But as they rounded the corner, Emily's heart sank when she spotted Charlotte, standing just beyond the stretch of trees, face pale but defiant. "Where do you think you're going?" she demanded, her tone laced with the same condescension as before. Emily's resolve hardened. "We're helping, not just ourselves. Alex needs us." Alex moved closer to Emily, gripping her hand tightly as if she were his lifeline. It was time to show Charlotte that strength wasn't defined by wealth or status, but by heart and courage. Robert emerged suddenly, breathless but determined. He leveled his gaze at Charlotte. "This isn't about you anymore. Emily is right. We're in this together." The sincerity in his voice ignited a spark of hope. Charlotte seemed to falter for a moment, uncertainty flickering across her face. But her pride surged forward. "You think this is helping? You're just prolonging the inevitable, as if playing the hero will change anything." Emily stepped forward, heart pounding fiercely in her chest. "It isn't about being a hero, Charlotte. It's about being human. These lives matter, and what we do here reflects who we are." For an electric moment, the air crackled. Robert's hands tightened into fists. "You're wrong. The storm we face is greater than the one inside this house." As the shadows of doubt loomed larger within Charlotte, the reality around them shifted. "You don't need to be alone in this," Robert persisted. "We can find strength together. For Alex, for all of us." Emily felt a weight lift, then a realization that they could coalesce beyond their differences. "You can choose, Charlotte. Choose to stand with us, or be consumed by your fears." For a heartbeat, the world hung in balance as Charlotte's expression morphed, caught between anger and understanding. I can't betray my own," she whispered haltingly, uncertainty etching her brow. "Or you can rise above it," Robert urged. "This community needs us all. We can change everything." Then a sudden crash sent them all reeling, and Emily knew they had to make a choice now, not just for the community but for themselves. With Alex beside her, she yelled into the darkness, "We stand together. We fight together." Robert grabbed her hand, his eyes brightening with determination as Jason joined their circle. "This isn't just about fighting fear. It's about building strength in unity. As the chaos surged closer, Emily took in the sight before her people coming together, no longer just defined by their roles, but transformed by purpose. The fear that had closed in began to dissipate under a wave of purpose and clarity. "We'll face whatever comes," Emily said, her voice unwavering. Together. And in that moment, as they prepared to confront whatever lurked in the shadows, they felt each heart beat as one, a symphonic promise of resilience, connection, and love. As they plunged into the darkness together, it wasn't just about survival. They were about to learn that true strength lies in the bonds of community and the power of a heart that refuses to back down. Together, with Alex clutching onto hope, they ignited a light in the darkness, one that would forever change their story. The storm outside would not only reshape lives, but it would teach them to rise, to stand united, and to make their voices heard. This was their moment. And as they faced the storms ahead, Emily could finally feel the brighter days were within reach, a shared journey to a future they could build together, one step at a time. Now that you've experienced the transformation of these characters, don't let this moment slip away. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us continue sharing these heartwarming tales. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. We want to hear your thoughts. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Every click makes a difference.